All right. we're
We're live.
we're live. We're live. So welcome back, Latino Free Minds. This is our first live episode, but it's our 16th episode. So if anyone's tuning in or gonna tune in for the first time, hope you enjoy it. Um, we do have a website now where we have merch. Uh, we have hoodies, sweaters, shirts, hats, all that stuff. The link is at our website. I'll put the website below later. Go check it out. Buy something, support, and share the show. Um, but we talk a lot about current event things that are going on, and just kind of a different perspective that other people might not hear or might not have. So we want to talk about those kind of things, right? And this past week there was a lot of stuff going on, especially in Chicago. And it ties into a lot of the things we've talked in our first 15 episodes, right?
Yeah.
And kind of talking about this beforehand. And what we mentioned last time is we we always end up at manipulation, right? We always end up as that's part of the cause that causes all these other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um, and I think the patterns that we see is that they put these events on, daily local news, like what happened in Chicago, to get our emotions going, to start the divide.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we start talking about these, that's the first thing that you want to go to. And you start talking to your friends, social media. We were talking about all the negative comments that we saw, a lot of derogatory comments made towards the group of people because the majority were African American, and
Mm-hmm.
they're really young, young group of kids. And we talked about it in the last episode, is that the younger spectrum is being targeted because they're easily influenced, manipulated. And I think this is live. What's happening is exactly what they're projecting to happen.
Yeah.
Me, this is a success of what success of the manipulation looks like. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we start talking, making derogatory comments. The divide starts happening. Um, they start hearing those comments coming from all different directions, and here it goes. Then the media jumps in, and they've got the narrative that they wanted. So we were talking about looking at what's put in front of us by social media, uh, news networks, politicians,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And what we have to train ourselves is not look what they're putting in front of us, but why they're putting it in front of us and how it came to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's how you and I started, talking about, the age group that's being manipulated. You don't see 30, 40-year, 50-year-old people out there, causing chaos. It's the younger group that's out there,
Mm-hmm.
again, easily influenced. Another point that you made is that even though they're younger than that 18 to 29 age group that we talked about that last episode, that gets targeted
Mm-hmm.
by what is the White House calling them? The group of people,
Influencers.
the influencers. So that's the age group that they're targeting, 18 to 29, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to remember that these younger teenagers that were rioting in Chicago are going to be 18 in a couple of years, if not less.
Yeah.
So they're young minds that um, don't even know that they're being manipulated for a specific agenda by the government and politicians. George Soros that funds organizations that fund the politicians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And like we were saying too, because everybody had seen that the mayor elect, I don't know if he's officially the mayor yet, he was commenting, or he was saying that we shouldn't be demonizing the kids, right? And in a sense, probably people hear that, and I know I heard that, and I was like, how are we not going to blame them? They're young adults, like they should know, right from wrong, in a sense.
Hmm.
But when you think about it, and kind of how when you had said that earlier, it's like, well, yeah, it does make sense. Like, yeah, don't demonize them, because they've they've been in a system that leads them towards this type of behavior.
And the parents too. So the parents, so there was a lot of comments about the parents of these teenagers, these young adults. Just basically saying that they weren't good parents, good people, or whatever the case may be, whatever they were saying. But they've been manipulated by the system too. So I'll tell that, is it the mayor or governor that you were talking about right now?
It's the mayor, and his name is Brandon Johnson. He's the mayor elect.
So let me say this: I'll agree with the mayor, Mayor Johnson. It's like, not, let's not demonize them. We'll demonize the local government, the DA, him, or Miss Lightfoot, um, that was the mayor
Hmm.
prior to him coming in. Let's demonize them. They're the ones that created this environment, created this um, outcome.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
influencing and manipulating these young adults into doing that and allowing it to happen. It's
yeah.
like, do you really think that, um, not just young adults, but anybody for that matter, any young adult or senior citizen, whatever the case is, you think that they're really going to go out there and do that if they're going to be repercussions, they're
Hmm.
going to be arrested, there's going to be rule of law? I highly doubt it.
Yeah,
And some of those videos were pretty scary,
yeah.
especially the one where they showed that one girl that just got absolutely mobbed by,
Yeah,
I don't even
I
know
don't
how
even
many
know how
people. It
many.
looked like a lot of people. So
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the, from all the clips. Obviously everything what they were doing was, ridiculous. But yeah, that was probably one of the most enraging clips to see, right? Because it's just, yeah, it's a woman. I don't know if she was trying to go into that building or whatever, and then yeah, it's just this whole crowd just gets around her and just starts to beat on her. So hopefully she's okay.
yeah,
But like you said, right? They've been living in an environment where none of that stuff has been. There's been no accountability, right? It's kind of, in a sense, right? It's been like a free for all.
yeah,
So
Wild Wild West.
yeah,
So
so when the policies that they've instituted allow for a wild wild west, the rest of us shouldn't be shocked by it.
no,
It's the environment that those policies, that government, that local government has allowed, and in a sense that it's they've ushered it in.
I just had this thought while we're talking here. Is What is the end game for the lack of rule of law, right?
Hmm.
So the United States is not a democracy, right?
It's a republic.
Um, it's a republic, but what's more important in a republic is that each state governs itself in a way, right?
Hmm.
And then there's the federal government, and in Washington D.C., they're striving for more and more power, right?
Hmm.
So if that's what they're striving for, and if they've got all these politicians, DAs, um, installed, wanting to get more and more power, what you do is you break down each state, the rule of law in each state, and you say that it's broken, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And as it breaks more and more and more and more, then the federal government rides in a white horse and goes, we have the solution. We have to take care of this federally.
Mm,
The police is going to be federal, right?
right.
And then that gives them more control over everything.
Yeah.
So if you look at this, the way that each state, especially the blue states, are breaking down and breaking down and breaking down, you could make the case that, if the federal government comes up with a good plan to, police those states under a federal umbrella, they could
Mhm.
potentially do that. They could convince people of doing that.
Mm, yeah.
And think about the patterns. Defund the police. What's going to happen if you defund the police? It's going to be
exactly what
chaos.
exactly what's happening in Chicago.
Exactly.
Mm,
So after a few couple years of that, um, politicians, prepare speeches. Hey, we've got the solution, and there's methods. They present the problem and then they present the solution.
mm-hmm,
So I don't know. I mean, this is just me, kind of like spitballing and thinking outside the box. Why in the world would they allow it to happen? Why would this lack of law and order be allowed?
mm.
And that's one of the things that comes to my mind. I don't know if you can think of anything else, but
No, I mean, well, I kind of what I was thinking about was, and I think maybe this is just a basic thought, but I was just like, we're the parents, because I get that the policies have allowed that, but in a sense, like I was thinking, as a parent, wouldn't you should be taking care of your home, right? In a sense, as far as and maybe it goes back to what we talked to at the beginning was, knowing your kids and being aware of what they're, exposed to. But at the same time, it's tricky because, like we said right now, it's well, they've all been in that environment for so long. So is it just normal now? You know? So, but my first thought goes to like, okay, well, where are the parents? Right? Obviously the policies that are put in place, it kind of, not to sound harsh, but it's a culture where, there's a lot of single mothers, fatherless homes. So it's
mm,
like that's part of the problem too. But it's also caused by the policies that basically incentivize single motherhood or having a kid and, collecting whatever it is, money for having more and more kids. You know what I mean? I think it's all connected. It's part of the problem, all of that.
yeah, it's a huge part of the problem. But what I would say to that is the parents today, the majority don't have that mentality. I shouldn't say majority, but a lot of
A lot
them,
of them. Hmm.
a lot of them don't really understand that they are the biggest influence in their kids' lives. But check this out. This is the crazy part, and this is where everything starts clicking together and correlates.
Hmm.
Okay, so what are the schools doing right now? They want to bypass the parents that do care, right?
Hmm.
That do understand that they are the biggest influences. And what are they trying to teach them at school?
Everything but just all kinds of race things, just different, just divisive stuff,
Exactly.
basically. Yeah.
So here are the parents, here are the children, right?
Hmm.
The government or local government or education system is trying to slide in between
Hmm.
at a very young age.
Yeah.
It's not even high school, not even middle school. It's happening in elementary school.
Hmm.
So that we're talking about it right now because we've noticed it.
Hmm.
But can you imagine how long that this has been happening? So people have been programmed, to let the government, the schools influence their kids.
Yeah.
And that's why I said what we're seeing in Chicago, it's the exact outcome that they wanted.
Hmm. And this is something that I had written down also, is because we talked about the school system on episode 2, right? And we also talked about kids and how when they get to this point where they're 15, 16, 17, it's too late. Remember when we said that?
Yeah,
um and the other thought I had was, well, this is what happens when you let the government raise your children.
yeah. Remember we were talking about when the um, the politicians start saying that our kids belong to the community. This is what happens when you believe that they belong to the community. You're not going to control them. The
Mm,
community says let's go out and rage. They're going to be like, hey mom, pop, later I'm going to go out and rage
yeah,
because they belong to the community.
yeah, that's
If
true.
they belong to the family, you've got control. You've got they're on your side. They're like, hey mom and dad, this is going on, what do you think?
Yeah.
They don't, they engage with you, they talk to you. You have an opportunity to go, hey, you know what, this is a bunch of BS, and this is reason number one, two, three, and four, and five, and you have a conversation back and forth.
Hmm.
But when you and they believe that they belong to the community, they're not asking you, they're telling you, I'm out, I'm gonna go rage with my friends, or whoever.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean I hadn't even thought of that, but that makes a lot of sense. It's they see the people around them, their environment, they're doing all that, and again, it's been normalized for who knows however many years they've been there. That all right, everybody else is doing it. Let's go. This is what you know what we should be doing. So, uh, yeah, it's all
It's part of the system. Look,
yeah.
I don't know if I know some of this stuff was implemented when I was a kid, but not at this um, extreme. So you've got to understand that these kids that were out there before they were born, this was already in place. They were
Mm-hmm.
they were already in the elementary schools. They were
Yeah.
already in the middle schools. The celebrities, politicians, they all of this was already out there. So
Mm,
this is all they've known. Social media was heavy,
yeah.
when they were growing up. So this is all they've known, man. And that's why I say, why demonize them? It's like we have to peel back the layers, like we were talking about, and say, this is what they put in front of us. Why? Let me see. Why did it happen?
Mm,
Okay, you know.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, you know what? You're right, man. Let's not demonize them. It's like you guys are the ones
Mm-hmm.
that we should be freaking blaming for all of this, and not fall into their trap
Mm-hmm.
of hate, because that's all they want is that
Yeah.
division. There was, not to change the subject, but you mentioned something about marriage and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So last night I heard a statistic, and the statistic says that 50% of marriages fail.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's part of that same thing too. There's no more compromising, there's no more sacrifice, there's no working hard or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these marriages, a lot of people don't even get married actually, but there's a lot of kids that are born in these relationships, whether they are married or aren't married. And the people that do get married, if this statistic is correct, is 50%. So a lot of these kids are growing up with that.
Mm.
Now, since that rate is so high, it makes us think and wonder, is this what they want?
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah. That's
Broken families, broken homes.
dividing the home. Yeah. It's to me, it's like it's exactly what they want. It's part of the plan. It's part of the system. It's part of that cycle that is the norm now. Like you
Yeah.
said, if 50% of marriages fail, then to me that's like okay, that's normalized.
Yeah.
It's been normalized to get out of your marriage. Like you said, not compromise, not make any sacrifices. As soon as things get tough, I'm sure there's a lot of people that just, all right, we're done. You
Or
know?
think about this. We just said being the big example in the kid's life. You think in a in that situation, they have an opportunity to do that. You
Yeah.
know, if you have a complete family, there's time to focus on work and family, and it's healthy, right?
Right.
On a broken home, that one parent, if the mother is doing the majority of the work or the father's doing the majority of the work, the focus isn't there. They're not living with the other parent, so the focus isn't there. So where's the good influence in that kid's life? It's nothing but, I don't want to say nothing but bad influences, but the likelihood of them being influenced by something bad is higher, just because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And and to um go back to the mayor, right? And he's saying don't demonize him. It's like, okay, I won't demonize him, right? Because thinking about it, what we've talked about is all right, that's the environment that they've been put in. The government policies that are put in place have allowed it to that point. So I won't demonize them. But now you need to tell me what are you gonna do to stop it? What are you gonna do to correct it? You know what I mean? Then just tell me not demonize him. And then it's like, okay, well, who's to blame and who's gonna do the actions to prevent this from recurring?
Well, my answer would be it's not them. They're not going to do it. Even if we hold their feet to the fire, they are not going to do it. And
Yeah.
my belief is that these politicians are not elected. I'm a firm believer that there's um, voter fraud
Mhm.
widespread at every level. Um, what we see right now is people installed, and one of the biggest examples that the entire nation has seen is what happened in Arizona.
Mhm.
So Katie Hobbs supposedly won the election, and on my way home today, I was listening to someone speak, and they did a poll, and the most unpopular governor is, guess who?
Katie Hobbs.
Mm-hmm.
Come
And
on,
didn't she
man.
just? Yeah, she just won the election.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
It's
is
and
that?
it's crazy too because same applies to Joe Biden, right? The the most popular president is also the most unpopular president of all time. So that's kind of weird.
It's not adding up. Someone tell me how it adds up.
Yeah, it doesn't add up at all. But I think if anything, even these situations, kind of like we've been talking about before, are eye openers, right?
Hmm.
I mean, for people, it could be you, right? It could be your daughter, it could be your sister that's trying to, you know, I don't know, get home or wherever that lady was going, right? Seemed like she was right outside the door of wherever she was going. And then for this group, this mob to just, beat her up, like that could happen to anybody. And that's an eye opener because, you're able to see, okay, what, or at least it makes you think, why is all this chaos allowed there? You know? you start to wonder, where was the police? You know, and
Yeah.
and it's and it's exactly like you mentioned before. It's like, well, if these cities are, let's defund the police, then again you end up with chaos.
Yeah. You know, just root cause drilling down. It's kind of how my brain works. Um, I was saying that they're not gonna fix it, even if we peacefully protest, like real peaceful protest, like a the true definition of it. Um,
Not the 2028 version.
yeah, not that one, not the 21st century version, but um, they're not gonna fix it.
Yeah.
So what is the fix? The fix is getting the elections clean.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way. In war, I heard this a long time ago. I don't know if I was reading like a leadership book or I don't know what the heck it was. But in order to win a war, sometimes a lot of people think that you have to go head to head and battle the enemy till they tap out or until they lose, die, whatever term you want to use. But there's other tactics, right? So you attack their food supply, water supply, um, a stream of income and stuff like that. And you don't even really have to sacrifice any lives or actually battle, hand to hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like what I'm describing. If I go to the mayor or the governor or these corrupt politicians and I try to argue with them or impeach them or protest and so that they are accountable for what they allowed to happen and are allowing to happen and to fix it, it's
Mm-hmm.
like that's not going to work. So what do? And that's what I'm referring to. Let's cut off their funds, supply or whatever, and that would be the tactic. Is we have to fix the elections. When
Mm-hmm.
we have clean elections, they will be phased out. We will have true leaders, and we won't have these problems anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because yeah, that's one problem that we do have is weak leadership all the way around. And to kind of segue into another topic is because you're talking about peaceful protest. Um, I was telling you about the whole incident in Nashville where they had the shooting.
Hmm.
The Christian kids got killed. I believe it was 6 or 7 people total. Uh, and that whole situation is real eye opening and frustrating to see
Hmm.
because some innocent kids lost their lives. And if you ask me, they were targeted by a specific person because of their specific beliefs. That's just, if we want to keep it real, that's what it is.
Hmm.
And somehow they've made this shooting about being racist, homophobic, and guns are bad. And you know, and speaking of peaceful protests, it's like they went into the capital of they're in Tennessee, Nashville, took over, and according to their standard, it was just protesting, right?
Hmm.
But what they've been telling us since 2021 is that's an insurrection.
Hmm.
So that double
So
standard applies.
that wasn't an insurrection then.
No, that one wasn't. That was peaceful protesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was protesting, for against guns, but it was also a lot of, the LGBTQ community protesting because the shooter was a trans person. And I don't know, I guess in a sense, from what I've seen, is like if it's justified. She's a victim. She's oppressed. She's going through a lot. But it's just it's frustrating because obviously any kid, regardless, right,
Hmm.
of the shooter, their background, no kid that shouldn't happen to kids. But it's like now it happens to a certain specific type of kid in a Christian school, and it's like let's disregard them, right? I think I was telling you the White House has invited those three lawmakers from Tennessee that basically helped out with that peaceful protest,
Mm.
but no, when they asked the press secretary about, what about the families? Are they getting an invite to the White House? She had no comment on that, which is, we all know, no. And
Yeah.
and to me that's what makes it real. How could you put it? Infuriating. I don't know. What do you feel about that?
I think it's the same tactic being applied um, in a different scenario. So
Hmm.
you take the same everything that's been what happened in Chicago in a different way, but very similar. You put it in Nashville.
Hmm.
So what I mean by that, it's creating more division.
Yeah.
Do you do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and why was it allowed? You know how did that come to be?
It.
Look, and what I'm trying to say is a lot of these people that are involved in these mass shootings
Hmm.
is it turns out that they're heavily medicated. They've got some issues. FBI has already been looking into them for a while. They've been under the radar. They've been spoken to by the FBI.
Hmm.
Um, J6, it turns out that there were so many undercover informants, dressed as civilians out there. And there's just a lot to it that leads you to believe that the three-letter agencies are involved in a lot of these things that happen.
Hmm.
Um, and it's unfortunate that it does happen because lives are lost, and that's the part that is the most upsetting, especially when there's kids involved.
Hmm.
Every life is important, but when there's kids involved, it's a lot different. Everybody has to admit that,
Hmm.
and I think part of that happening is for that reason, is because it really pulls at the heartstrings, and it drives people to go to that place where they just see red, and it's really hard to control your emotions. But um I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of based off what you just said right now, it is just all an emotional response. Normally, with that side, it's emotions are a real triggering, and it's also an easy way to manipulate.
yeah, it's a form
Because
of manipulation.
yeah, yeah, and you gotta say, it sounds like a broken record because we keep ending up back to that, but that is the key. I mean, their manipulation causes a lot of these things. So when someone is emotional and they get enraged, and like you said, they see red because they're angry, obviously everybody gets upset when things like this happen.
Yeah,
Um, but then they get angry, they get enraged, and then they start taking their anger out, not just on the shooter, the person responsible, but everybody else that you know has nothing to do with that shooting, right? They start
Right.
attacking people that are pro Second Amendment, right? They start attacking, conservatives in general, because realistically, you got your liberals and your conservatives, and obviously one side is pro gun, one isn't.
Hmm.
And it's just these emotional tricks to get people riled up, and it causes all this.
Yeah, because let's say that if people really cared, you know, about the people that are involved with this, the people. Okay, so you got the victims, and then you've got um, the perpetrator, right?
Hmm.
If people really cared, they would be concerned about the victims, of course. Then the perpetrator, the criminal, they would take a real look at the why this person did it,
Hmm.
and then they would look at the background. You and I would use common sense and go, okay, well, did they have mental issues? Okay,
Hmm.
what's their history? Let's pull it up. Were they under medication? Right. So
Yep.
we don't have that common sense approach where we start looking at things pragmatically like that in and start to dissect it and really understand the situation. No, we've got all these different outlets that just want to cram this narrative down our throat straight
Hmm.
up.
Hmm.
And look at the patterns. I talk about the patterns all the time. This person was a transgender.
Hmm.
And let's talk about the Bud Light situation. So now we've got videos in social media where people are out there. They put a 12 pack or however many pack of beers, and they start shooting at it,
Yeah.
and as a sign of I don't know what you would call it, protest, or
Protesting, or
yeah,
um
boycotting, whatever you
boycotting.
want to
There you
call
go.
it, right?
Yeah.
um in you know some of them are funny, you have to admit. I mean, what's funny is funny.
Yeah.
um but let's think about our reaction. So is that the reaction that they want us to have? Is that we show aggression towards that, and then they go,
Mm.
hey, homophobes over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, no, wait. I heard a quote, and someone had asked someone, is like, um, what do you do when someone speaks negatively to you? And
Hmm.
this person was very zen, you know, and they were very calm. So anytime someone would say something negative, they they wouldn't acknowledge it, or they wouldn't react to it.
Hmm.
And the reason the explanation that they gave is that if I was to acknowledge that negativity, I would allow it to exist.
Mm. Hmm.
And so the person or whoever was being negative towards that person, without that reaction, they don't get that um, reciprocation to whatever energy that they're trying to give off.
Yeah.
So that energy just lies there, and nothing happens with it.
Mm. Hmm.
And that's what they want from us. They want they want to put something out negative. They're waiting for the negative response. They've got their explosion.
Mm. Hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, that's what my feelings are about that. It's I'm not saying kind of like trying to sound like Jesus is like you know turn your other cheek, or the Bible, and let things just kind of roll off your back. But you we can have reactions, we can react to things, but I think the way that we react to things is really important. You know.
Yeah. And I think that's what I was saying last time was, we can quietly, like, if you don't agree with, Bud Light and what they're doing, and or Nike, using that guy to model women's clothes. If you don't agree on
Mhm.
none of that, it's cool. Just, do that on your own. Just, hey, all right, I'm not gonna buy any Nike, any Nike gear. I'm not gonna buy Bud Light. You just kind of do it in silence and you move on, and then you know where not to support, right? Um,
Yeah.
but you know, it's I think
There's a
situation. Uh-huh.
there's a lot of examples like I'll use watching sports when all this stuff started going down, man. I was really into sports. I just cold turkey just stopped watching.
Yeah.
And that was my way of protesting. Then you start seeing um, you know, franchises losing money and ratings are down. They're not even close to what they used to be in the past. Bud Light, I ain't buying no Bud Light. That's and I'm not putting anything out on social media like memes or anything like that, or
No,
but I'm
I
just
mean,
showing it with my money, my reaction, I guess. Kind of like what I was talking about,
yeah.
and it doesn't have to be negative. All you have to just really do is like, look, I'm not gonna support you. I'm not gonna buy that. And other people are talking with their wallets too,
Mm-hmm.
and it's showing.
Yeah, yeah. They lost money. I think because I think when we did that episode, the last one, they were at 4 billion, and I think the very next day after it was like at 7. I haven't checked recently, but yeah, they feel the effects of it, right? And then even the CEO had to put out a statement that was like, "Oh, we didn't want to get into anything that's divisive or something like that." But at the same time, it's like, well, you already did it, and it was kind of like a, how could you put it, like a weak apology, not like a real correction. It was just like, didn't mean to do that. You know what I mean? It was like just trying to save face in a sense, not really.
Well, they were just trying to get their customers back. That's all they
Yeah,
were trying to do.
yeah.
Is it true that they put out another Clydesdale horse type of uh, commercial or advertisement
I
after
had
that?
I didn't watch it, but I saw someone post it that there was a new ad and it did have the horse.
Yeah.
Uh
And it's like, we were just kidding. We're gonna go back to being patriotic
America.
and America first type of thing. That's why, remember what we were saying in the other episodes? The reality is that we're the majority.
Mhm.
So the illusion, I mean, you can fall into the illusion and you can, believe what you want to believe.
Mhm.
That's proof again that we're the majority.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. 100%. That like you said, it goes to show you that when all these things come out and they don't see that instant overwhelming support, then yeah, they're not the majority. They
Yeah.
are not, you know. And like I said last time, they might have the majority and all this social media crap, but social media, for in a sense, it's not real life either,
Mm-mm.
you know.
No, it's a fantasy, straight
Yeah.
up. I mean, they got filters and all that other stuff. Come on now, so ain't no reality. But going back to the Nashville shooting and with the kids
Mm,
is, I know you've seen it, but there's a list. So politicians are protected by armed men with weapons,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Celebrities, same thing, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And you know, um, wealthy people, same thing, right?
Right.
Schools, children are protected by
Nothing.
gun-free zone signs. That's it.
To me, when we talk about, going through, this, how could you put it? This timeline, the time we're in. Um, you would imagine that having kids protected a little bit better would be more important, would be a higher priority. And
The highest priority.
it's not, because all it becomes is just, again, people getting enraged about guns. And
Well, it's not about kids anymore.
no, no, it wasn't. I mean, this
So
this
let's keep
shooting.
it real. It should be about the kids. When everybody starts arguing about guns, it's like, shut up. Let's
Yeah,
talk about the kids. How
yeah,
are we going to protect the kids?
exactly.
Get some armed, you know, cops there, or there's a lot of suggestions,
Hmm.
ex-military, retired folk, or whatever,
Hmm.
um, or even armed teachers, or that are trained or whatnot.
Hmm.
Security guards that are armed.
Trained.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it, that should be, if we really wanted to fix this, if they really wanted to fix this, they would fix it the way that they fix everything else.
Hmm.
These people that are talking, is standing on their soapbox, are protected by people with firearms.
Hmm.
So don't be a hypocrite and protect them the way that you're being protected as you speak about them
Hmm.
straight up.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. And that right there, it's like, you know, obviously we've talked about it. We're in California. Our our very special governor, Gavin Newsom, um, he likes to talk about how much money he spent to fix this, and that. It's like, there's a good spot where you want to put some money into it. Put some money into protecting kids, right? And
Mhm.
don't be walking around the streets talking about how bad guns are, and you have three or four, armed guards next to you. Like, come on, man. You think you're the only one that deserves that kind of protection? It's like you said, right? Don't talk about the guns. Talk about the kids, right? We're talking about saving lives. And unfortunately, you know, there are crazy people in this world that, get want to get notoriety off of doing a school shooting, right? There's that aspect to it. There's a lot of mental health issues that don't even get addressed. Um, we've just, today's society, we just let everything roll without any correction. And like you said, kind of like we were saying before about Chicago, no accountability, no, none of that. It's just, it's a free for all.
Well, look at the pattern there. Another pattern. So we're not protecting the kids in Nashville, right?
Hmm.
And then you talked about the UN. It seems like they want to make sexual consent for minors the norm.
Yeah.
How is that protecting the kids? You've got adults that could pressure kids into thinking that they're consenting
Hmm.
to sexual activities.
Yep. And this is what I'm sharing right now. It's their their document. So I'll just kind of read it from the top. It says, with respect to enforcement of criminal law, any prescribed minimum age of consent to sex must be applied in a non-discriminatory manner. Enforcement may not be linked to the sex, gender of the participant, or age of consent to marriage. Moreover, sexual conduct involving persons below the domestically prescribed minimum age of consent to sex may be consensual in fact, if not in law. In this context, the enforcement of criminal law should reflect the right and capacity of persons under 18 years of age to make decisions about engaging in consensual sexual conduct and their right to be heard in matters concerning them. Pursuant to their involving capacities and progressive autonomy, persons under 18 years of age should participate in decisions affecting them with due regard to their age, maturity, and best interest, and with specific attention to non discrimination guarantees. So, you know, I just read it word for word. I don't know how anybody else interpreted it. I know we read it before and we're at the same conclusion. That means that minors, according to the UN, which I believe Trump wanted to get rid of, and he, Hopefully, if he gets back in there, he does. We forget them. They're
Hmm.
saying anyone under 18 can make a decision, can give consent. And I mean, that's what all this other crap with talking about 3 and 4 year olds that are able to determine their sex or change their sex. You got kids under 10 having surgeries and all that. It's like this is that right there was the start of this. That's like the entrance. Now you get to hear, and next thing you're gonna see is, oh, okay, well, being a pedophile is a sexual preference.
Yeah.
Being a pedophile, love is love.
Now, what we were talking about earlier, I don't know if there's an echo, but um, let me know if you hear it.
No, I'm good.
Now, does it make sense that they're trying to slide into elementary school with the drag queens, right? Does it make sense now? Is the pattern there? Can you see the pattern now?
Mm-hmm.
They're laying it out in front of us.
Yeah.
It's up to us if we want to see it. So you tell me, are they protecting the kids? These
No.
hypocrites, these liars, these bold-faced liars, are they protecting the kids?
Nope. Not one bit. Not one bit. And again, it goes to what we talked about in the first episode. It's these people have no morals. No morals at all. Like you said, they get on their soapbox, pretend to care, say the right things like they care, but then the policies that get put in place or these things that they're recommending go against all of that. So it's like, what is that saying? Your actions are louder than your words.
Yeah, they speak
Like
louder than
right
their
here.
words, straight
Boom.
up.
Exactly. And this is like I said, to me, this is like an introduction to pedophilia. Like, okay, let's normalize that. That's how I interpret that.
Yeah, well, first you steal the kids' innocence,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what they're doing. Think about it. That's what they're doing with the drag queens. Look, being a drag queen and doing whatever drag queens do. I've never been to one of those shows, but I've seen TV shows or movies, and everybody kind of gets the idea of what that whole deal is about. No one's bashing those adults that want to engage into that, but let's make it real. It's sexual what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No one thinks, oh, a drag queen is so educational. They're a great influence for my kids. Let's take them to school. Who thinks about that?
A pedophile.
Let's be real. Exactly. Why? Because you want to steal that kid's innocence and you want to put that seed in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it sets them up for what the UN is trying to do. The UN is going to try to do that. Obama and what was it, John Kerry, were trying to introduce a law where the UN could control firearms in the nations that are in it. So in other
Mm-hmm.
words, they wanted to take it our Second Amendment with it. So if the UN is trying to do that with consent, the age of consent, you don't think that they're going to apply it to all the nations that are tied into it? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they are.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, to kind of go back to this, to me, it gets worse. The next section is on sex work. So two consenting adults, exchange shouldn't be
Ugh.
criminalized, right? Now, what does that lead to? Human trafficking. It's like I haven't read this whole document, but just seeing the next one, it just got it just got worse because it gets into human trafficking, right? That's
Mhm.
what you're opening the doors to. Now you combine principle 16 with principle 17. What do you got there? Child trafficking. So these people can, you know, try not to
Yeah.
cuss, but you know what I want to say.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say.
You
Hey
know,
man, it's they're laying it out. They're laying it out. We just have to be able to see it and identify it and figure it out. Hopefully we are figuring it out. Um, you know, I read a book by John Taylor Gatto, and he was a teacher, in New York or in the East Coast. I think it was New York. And he saw how kids were being manipulated. Weapons of Mass Instruction is the name of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the he came to a lot of conclusions, but one of the conclusions he came down to is that, and check this out because I think it has something to do with what's going on right now, is that adolescence is being extended. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to what we talk about in the sense that people actually start seeing the truth after they're 30 or when they're in that age range. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when they extend the adolescence is what they expose kids to as far as responsibility is
Mm-hmm.
and what they should be doing, what a responsible adult is like, or understanding that when you become an adult, it's not that you turn 18 and then you're responsible, is that you start becoming responsible, you start becoming an adult at a young age. And
Mm-hmm.
by the time you're 18, you're a responsible adult.
Mm-hmm.
So they take that away and extend the adolescence.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when that happens, you're not independent, you're reliant, and you're easily manipulated.
Yeah.
And that's one of the conclusions that he came to as far as the school system in America.
Mm.
Okay. And this is an award winning teacher. Okay. And he wrote books about this.
Mm.
So you tell me, are we protecting our kids? Are we making them independent adults by that time they turn 18? Not when they turn 18, but by that time they're 18.
Mm-mm. No,
He
they're not.
in one of the stories in his book, he outlines this story, right? And I think I told you this one before. I've told a lot of people about this story, but so this mom is
Story
taking
time.
story time is that this mom is taking her kid home. So she picks him up from school and she's taking him home. And out of nowhere, and he must have been like around 10 or 11 or something like that, or maybe a little bit younger. But it's just so it doesn't sound like I'm exaggerating, like around 10 or 11. So she stops, pulls over to the curb, and goes, "Hey, walk home."
Mm-hmm.
And to the kid, he's like confused. And for us reading this paragraph out of the book, it seems kind of cruel. It's like the mom is kicking the kid out of the car, making him walk home.
Mm.
So what the mom was really trying to do is see if he pays attention. And if
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't paying attention, so that he could pay attention moving forward, so that he knows how to get home. He's paying attention to his surroundings.
The environment, huh?
Exactly. Not just fumbling around, like paying attention to his phone. Oh, okay. And stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this person became very successful. Why? Because they were independent at a young age, didn't depend on people influencing them, what they thought. He formed opinions on his own. He came to
Mm-hmm.
conclusions on his own, made decisions on his own, questioned things.
Yeah.
That's what we're missing. That's what used to be taught
The
in
critical
school.
thinking.
Critical thinking.
Yeah. And that's crazy. I mean, because like, I graduated high school in 2004. At that time, I felt like when I was at a high school, I felt like, oh shit, I'm not ready for the real world. Like, I don't know you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Anything, Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't prepared for it. Like credit, you know, taking care of that, bank accounts, none of that stuff was taught in schools. And like
Yeah.
I just felt as a young adult, I felt like, oh damn, I had to learn everything kind of as I go, right? Um, and that was in 2004. My opinion of it is it hasn't gotten any better. So I can only
No,
imagine how
much
the
worse. Yeah.
how much worse these kids are. Because I mean, at least I knew, okay, I I at least I knew, okay, I got to go to work, I got to start making money because I got to start taking, in a sense, taking care of myself. I got to try to get a car. I got to, you know, help with the rent or whatever. Like I knew I had to do that stuff, you know. So I wasn't completely like, how could you go clueless, but the other aspects, that are tied into that, like there wasn't a lot of conversation on that, especially in school. I think in high school we had economics for like half a semester,
Hmm.
and it's like that's it. That's the only requirement. It's like, well, no, you should probably do it all 4 years. So people get out of high school and they're pretty knowledgeable with banking system, the stock, whatever, right?
Yeah,
Set,
maybe a
set these kids,
requirement throughout.
set these kids up to succeed, right off the bat. Obviously you're gonna have to show some, do some work, but like I said, I can only imagine today's kids getting out of high school, how unprepared they must be, because education has the standard of education is terrible. So I can only imagine, what it's like there, the type of work ethic that they probably don't have and don't instill in them nowadays. A lot of them probably don't have it in them. You know, it
Yeah,
it's a sad it's a sad situation.
yeah, and that's why I go back to that comment that I made earlier. Is like, you know what? I'm gonna agree with the mayor of Chicago. I'm not. Let's not demonize those kids. We just talked about the school system. Let's
Yeah, they
go.
don't
Let's
they don't they don't
let's
want kids prepared.
yeah. Let's take a look at that school system. Let's take a look at um, our police departments, DAs, you, the mayor, the politicians, allowing all of this to happen. What
Hmm.
are you doing?
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna demonize them. It's like,
yeah,
get off your
that's,
lazy asses and do something.
yeah. What are you gonna do? So yeah,
Yeah,
you're telling me not to demonize the kids, fine, but what are you gonna do?
yeah.
You know, and
That in that part, you know, I will pivot and I won't react the way that they want me to react because they want me to react with racist comments,
mm,
derogatory comments towards them and
yeah,
stuff like
or,
that.
or
And
or
it's
say anything that would be interpreted or taken out of context into something racist, even though you might just be saying
or like
something
we said,
factual.
just that negative energy,
Yeah, yeah.
towards them. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's how I would approach that. I
Hmm.
agree. I'm not gonna fall for that trap.
Yeah, no, and yeah, that's that's 100% the real problem. That's the root cause. It's the policies put in place that have been in place for years. That's why when we talk about a lot of this stuff now that's happening today, you know, we're not talking about it, or we're not trying to have people open their eyes to it for today. It's like you open it today so that 5, 10 years from now, it's not worse for your kids or the next generation. That's why today we talk about it, so that tomorrow in the future, we got to fight for it today, because all these policies that are in place now weren't just put in today. you know it didn't get it added today and then, oh, this is the results of it. It's like, no, it's been in place for probably 10, 20 years already, and this is the result.
Yeah, and it's been rolled out in stages. So John Taylor Gatto, we're talking about 70s, early 70s and stuff like that, if not a little bit earlier. So you can imagine this has been in production for a long time.
Hmm.
Now, they've gotten into a point where, it's really heating up. It's like right in our face, it's bold. Someone I thought this was kind of funny. Someone said that Hunger Games, they
Hmm.
brought up Hunger Games. Remember the consul or the politicians or whatever those people are that
Hmm.
are running the show in Hunger Games? They've
Yeah,
got
yeah.
the weird clothes and hats and stuff like that. Man, real life is starting to look like that. We've got what's that dude, that one guy that's stealing the
Sam Britton
yeah, or
stealing the luggage.
yes, stealing the luggage and stuff like that. He looks like he belongs straight out of that movie, Hunger Games. And it's like, I was telling Gloria is like some of this stuff is just like, dude, it's not even off of a movie script anymore because if you saw it in a movie, you would be like, this is too much.
Damn.
This is this is like extreme.
That's great. It is, man. That's damn.
It's like,
It's crazy.
a big term right now is gaslighting. Everybody uses it. I don't even know how to use it anymore because everybody just goes, "You're gaslighting me." It's
Everything's
everything's
everything's a
gaslighting.
gaslight. uh,
So it's like they're gaslighting us right now with some of the stuff that they're doing.
I was gonna tell you, Christy calls him the gay Matt Damon, but
Yeah,
oh my
he
goodness,
does resemble him
he
for sure.
does. He's just bald, I think. But I think he did. He get time. I think
He
he
did.
got some time, right?
Yeah, yeah, he did.
And he's gonna get mental health help as well.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
They're finally doing something right. Holy smokes.
Man. It's we had talked about it, or it could have been the one where Christian was on, where we were just talking about like everyone in the positions that are in. It's just they're selected to fit a role to appease a certain
Mhm.
population, and tie that into what we're talking about today. We end up with this weak leadership, right? You got you
On
got that
purpose, but
on
it's on
purpose,
purpose.
yeah. And you have um I want to have Art back on because they've been having Mallorca's on, at the Senate hearings and all that. And he's
Oh,
talking
they're
about how
grilling,
secure the
yeah.
border is. And it's like, man, like I don't know. They're just I guess they're relying on people not paying attention. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's not gonna work. Dude, I heard a sad story today.
Mhm.
So they I don't know, maybe you can look it up, but
Yeah.
they found a girl and they found so much male DNA on her, like multiple, like
Ooh.
a crazy amount of different, male DNA. I don't know if you'd be able to find it,
I think I saw it. I think Carrie Lake, is it
but
Carrie
it's
Lake?
extreme. It's extreme. Kind of like what I just said. Like even if
Mm.
it was in a movie,
Mhm.
I would say it's too out there. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
She Carrie Lake had posted a video. Oh no, a Twitter of a video that basically is a couple maybe that works at the border.
Hmm.
So she said a precious 8-year-old little girl was found at our border with 67 different traces of DNA inside
That's
her.
it right there.
In Joe Biden's America, little girls get raped by 67 different men. Damn. Yeah, I think the link is to another tweet where I think a couple was talking about it.
That's another one that you can add right there. Is are they protecting the kids at the border?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the reality is they don't give a flying, you know what.
And that's crazy. And then like I said, you have that guy talking about how secure the border is and tying it into what we've been talking about. Exactly what you said right now. They don't care about the kids. All those kids in the cages, all the kids crossing the border, suffering that we've been talking about. The ability to expose those kids or have them at risk of being trafficked. They don't care about kids. And
Yeah.
then UN introducing those kind of recommendations. It's like, come on, man. UN, you kick rocks, man.
Well,
And
you know, Trump is leading polls left and right as much as even I think his numbers got better when he got indicted.
yeah, I heard I had seen he definitely raised more money. So
Well, he sold his second edition of his
oh, his NFTs.
collectible or yeah, there you go.
Uh, I know
I saw
Trump.
some pictures of some and I was like, is that for real? I think one of them was like a Superman or some good shit like that. I was like,
They're all like I saw a couple of them. It's like they look funny. It's like
yeah,
it's kind of ridiculous, like the way they look, but it's
yeah,
like, hey, I guess people are buying them, so you know, it whatever it is, what it is.
yeah.
Uh,
So he's leading the polls. So
but yeah, we got so yeah, so visit our store, buy this shirt.
I'm gonna.
It's story time, and
Okay,
then
so is that the one that we were talking about? That's the one that I'm gonna.
that's the story time. I made that one because you always got your story time on the podcast. Um, we have other. I made this one. Where is it?
Oh
Politicians, son
yeah, yeah.
chismosos. That one. That one's also from the mind of Danny.
That hat, that camel hat though. I
Oh
like
yeah,
that one.
yeah. That one's
That's
dope. So
clean. Yeah.
I have the link below for the store. Check it out. Buy some of the gear. Help support the show here, and use promo code LFM20 for 20% off. So that code we'll share here on the podcast with the people that watch live. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think overall, good good episode, and we just got to keep our eyes on the real issues, right? I think as we talked about before, a lot of these things here are distracting us from the real deal, from the real problem.
Yep.
And we gotta, and myself included, sometimes I get caught up in it because, like I said, a lot of it looks um frustrating, but you know you got to take a step back and kind of
Decipher what's going
decipher,
on.
yeah, what it is, what are they trying to do, what, like you said, what reaction are they trying to get out of the people.
Hmm.
And a majority of the time, well, it's that exact reaction, and that's what they want, to probably paint people in a different um scope. And yeah, we got to think about it and be considerate of all aspects of these situations.
Yeah. Here's another uh, perspective or angle to this is Durham with his investigation.
Hmm.
Um, he dropped some new information, and it's linking Obama and things like that. So they were thinking that it was a nothing burger, Durham's investigation,
Hmm.
and it's obviously not over.
No.
It's just there's no leaks. I think it's a real investigation, and when there's a real investigation, there are no leaks. It's
Hmm.
kind of like we get used to the investigations that um, the Democrats were
The Mueller
running.
ones.
Yeah, yeah, and Swalwell's leaking, right? Shifty Shift is leaking information left and right.
Mm,
Um, and they're getting pulled from all the committees where they were getting all that information and leaking it. But this investigation, there's no leaks. It's sealed pretty tight.
mm.
There's still stuff coming down. Looking forward to see if anything really happens from it. I'm just crossing my fingers, but we'll see.
It's funny right now you mentioned Adam Schiff. He was doing uh, was it like a committee thing, a hearing? I think they're doing the one in New York or something like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you've seen that someone started shouting at him.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I
So,
love seeing when they heckle on.
so it was a conservative rapper. His name's DVS 7.0.
Uh huh.
Uh, and yeah, because I think Schiff started talking about Trump, and then like he kind of just got up and he's like, I forgot what he told him exactly, but just calling him out basically, like,
Yeah.
dude, like, why are you still talking about Trump? Like, it's people, people are dying, people are worried about their families, and you're still up here talking about Trump. Like, he went off on him. They kicked him out of the building, but he definitely called Schiff out. So shout out to him.
No, that's good. Hey, he wasn't getting fooled by what they were putting in his face.
Yeah,
Huh? The
yeah.
orange man, it's like no, 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 no,
Hmm.
not falling for it. Stop talking about that BS and talk about something real.
Yeah.
So that's good, man.
So
Need
yeah,
more and more of
they
that.
called him out in the middle of that hearing. So that was cool to see. I'll send you the video of it later
Yeah,
so
send it
you
to
can
me.
check it out. But yeah, I mean, hey, more people, right, are gonna start calling out the BS. So you know, I'm all for it.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody that tuned in live. Seems like it went well.
yeah.
So we'll try this out again. Um, Probably our next episode we'll have Peter Hernandez on. He's the U.S. Congress candidate for District 18 in California, which runs through San Jose, basically like Alum Rock area, all the way down to Salinas, Marina, Monterey. So it's a
Okay.
pretty big, it's a large area. So we're
So
gonna have him on next week,
where
and
we grew up,
yeah, where we grew up, exactly. So we'll talk to him about that area. We're familiar with it, and probably see what kind of plans he's got for that area and all that. So we'll have Peter Hernandez on next week.
right on.
Cool. All right, then everybody, take care. God bless, and we'll see you guys next time.